The sky was filled with bright lights. Huge, dark shapes appeared, blocking out the stars. At first, people thought it was some kind of strange weather, but the truth was far worse. Alien ships, massive and terrifying, descended on Earth. Their technology was beyond anything humanity had ever seen. The world's military forces tried to stop them, but the aliens' weapons were too powerful. Cities were destroyed in moments. Buildings crumbled, fires spread, and the air was filled with chaos. The first attack came with no warning. The aliens, known as the Zarvan, didn't want to talk, they didn't want to negotiate. They had one goal, to take over Earth. Their ships opened fire, sending beams of energy that ripped through the planet's defenses. The ground shook with every blast. Human soldiers scrambled to mount a defense, but the aliens didn't care. They had already planned for this. They had done their homework, and they knew how weak humanity's armies were. Earth's leaders gathered in bunkers, trying to find a way to fight back. The world's best scientists and military commanders worked together, but the aliens seemed unstoppable. People everywhere watched in fear as the skies darkened with more alien ships arriving. Cities fell. Governments crumbled. Even the most powerful weapons Earth had were useless against the alien invaders. As the Zarvan destroyed the cities one by one, humanity began to lose hope. The world seemed on the verge of collapse. People feared the worst. The aliens were too strong, too smart. It seemed like Earth had no chance. They were out of time. But then, in the middle of all this destruction, a strange thing happened. A small group of Earth's greatest minds came together in secret. These were the scientists, the engineers, and the soldiers who had been preparing for this moment without anyone knowing. They had been working for years to build something that could fight back against the aliens. They had reverse-engineered some of the technology from the first few attacks and used it to create weapons that might just work. While the Zarvan continued their attacks, the humans launched a surprise counteroffensive. Their new weapons fired bright energy beams, just like the ones the aliens used. The aliens were shocked. For the first time, they felt the sting of defeat. The humans had found a way to strike back. But the Zarvan were not easy to beat. They quickly adapted, sending more ships to reinforce their positions. The battle raged on. Earth's forces struggled to keep up. The aliens were faster, smarter, and their ships were far superior to anything humanity had. But Earth's people were determined to fight, to push back against the invaders. They would not give up. In the middle of the fighting, a new weapon was revealed. The humans had something the Zarvan never expected, a device that could disrupt the aliens' technology. It was a powerful weapon, capable of shutting down their ships' shields, their communication systems, and even their weapons. But it wasn't ready yet. The humans had to risk everything to get it working. As the battle continued to rage, the humans made their move. They secretly launched a mission to deploy the weapon, hoping it would give them the edge they needed. The Zarvan were not prepared for this. They had underestimated Earth's ability to fight back. Just as the aliens prepared for their final push, the humans activated the weapon. The alien ships lost their shields, and their weapons stopped working. For a brief moment, Earth's forces had the upper hand. The Zarvan were thrown into chaos, trying to figure out what had gone wrong. But the victory was short-lived. The Zarvan quickly regained control and adapted to the new threat. The humans had their moment of hope, but they knew the war was far from over. The aliens were too powerful. The stakes were higher than ever, and Earth had to find a way to keep fighting. The battle for survival was just beginning. The humans were no longer just defending their planet. They were fighting for their future, for the survival of their species. The Zarvan had attacked Earth, but now humanity was ready to show them that they would never give up. The fight for Earth had only just begun. After the first wave of attacks, Earth was left battered, broken, and on the brink of collapse. The Zarvan, with their advanced weaponry, had dealt a devastating blow. Cities lay in ruins, and most of the world's military forces had been decimated. The humans were scrambling to rebuild, to fight back, but it felt like the battle was already lost. But hidden deep within Earth's underground bunkers, far from the eyes of the alien invaders, a different kind of war was being fought. In these secret facilities, humanity's brightest minds and bravest soldiers worked tirelessly, with only one goal: to create a weapon powerful enough to stand against the Zarvan. These humans were part of a clandestine group known only as the Resilience, a network of scientists, engineers, and military experts who had been preparing for this invasion long before it actually happened. They knew that Earth's conventional military would never be enough to stand up to such a technologically advanced force. So, for years, they had been developing weapons, not just to defend, but to strike back in ways that the aliens would never expect. They had begun by studying the remnants of alien technology that had been recovered after the first attacks. With these scraps, Earth's scientists reverse-engineered everything they could. Alien energy shields, laser weapons, propulsion systems, nothing was too complex to learn from. It took years of careful work, with many sacrifices, but finally, they had developed something that could turn the tide: the supercharged orb. The orb was not just a weapon, it was a revolutionary piece of technology. It had the power to manipulate energy fields in a way that the Zarvan couldn't even comprehend. It could disable their ships, block their energy blasts, and even send pulses strong enough to shut down their entire fleet for moments at a time. It was the hope humanity had been waiting for, but it came with a heavy price: the orb wasn't ready for use yet. It needed a trigger, an enormous, dangerous energy burst that could only be activated by someone with great skill and courage. As Earth's cities burned, Commander Rachel Hayes, the leader of the Resilience, made a bold decision. She would lead a small, highly trained team to deploy the supercharged orb in the middle of the Zarvan's most powerful assault. They couldn't afford to wait any longer. If they didn't act now, Earth's last chance to turn the tide would be gone. The mission was simple, but incredibly dangerous: infiltrate the aliens' main base, which was hidden in a remote part of the planet, and activate the orb. It was the only way to stop the Zarvan long enough to give Earth's forces a fighting chance. Rachel and her team of elite soldiers knew the risks. They knew that most of them wouldn't make it back. But they also knew that humanity's survival depended on their success. They set out under the cover of darkness, moving through the wreckage of the alien-invaded cities, avoiding the deadly patrolling alien drones. The Zarvan had tightened their defenses, but they weren't prepared for what Earth's finest had in store. As Rachel and her team neared the base, they came face to face with the horrors of the Zarvan. Alien soldiers, towering and covered in thick armor, stood guard. Massive weapons glowed in their hands, and their eyes were filled with the cold, calculating gaze of conquerors. But the humans didn't flinch. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. The team fought their way through, using the very weapons they had crafted from alien technology. Laser guns fired with precision, and shield generators flared to life as they moved forward, dodging enemy fire. With every step, the alien base grew larger, more intimidating. But the humans didn't turn back. They pushed forward, their determination as unbreakable as ever. They finally reached the orb's activation chamber. The alien base was alive with energy, pulsating with the hum of power. But before they could activate the device, a harsh voice echoed in the chamber. Zalvar, the leader of the Zarvan forces on Earth, had arrived. He was tall, with glowing green eyes and a voice that carried the weight of authority. "You think you can stop us, humans?" Zalvar sneered. "You are nothing. Your weapons, your technologies, they are weak. You will fail. You always fail." Rachel looked him dead in the eyes, refusing to back down. "We are not afraid of you. This is our world, and we will defend it." With a swift motion, Zalvar raised his hand, sending a wave of energy toward the humans. The room shook, and sparks flew. But Rachel didn't hesitate. She activated the orb, sending a surge of power into the chamber that knocked Zalvar back. For a moment, it seemed like everything was lost. The alien leader was still standing, his eyes burning with fury. But as the energy from the orb continued to pulse, Zalvar realized something shocking: the human weapon was more powerful than he could have ever imagined. In that instant, the Zarvan were stunned. They didn't know how to fight back. Humanity had just shown them that they were no longer the weak species they had thought they were. Earth had a secret weapon now. And with it, the fight was far from over. After the unexpected success of the supercharged orb, humanity's morale surged. The Zarvan, who had once seemed invincible, were now facing an opponent who could fight back. However, Rachel Hayes and her team knew that this was just the beginning. The orb had given them a brief victory, but it wasn't enough to win the war. They had to come up with something even bolder, something that would truly shake the Zarvan to their core. Back in the secret underground bunkers, Earth's leaders, military strategists, and scientists gathered to discuss their next move. They had no choice but to fight smarter. The Zarvan had the superior technology, the firepower, and the numbers. What they didn't have was the unpredictability and cunning of a species fighting for survival. "We can't win this war just by reacting to their moves," said General Tommy Sykes, Earth's military commander. "We need to take the fight to them, hit them where they least expect it." Rachel Hayes agreed. "We've fought them on Earth. Now it's time to take the war to their homeworld. We'll strike them where they think they are safest." The decision was made: humanity would launch a surprise mission to the Zarvan's homeworld. But this wasn't going to be just another assault. This time, Earth had a new strategy. They would use the Zarvan's own technology against them, infiltrating their most secure areas and causing chaos in their leadership ranks. To pull this off, Earth would need to take risks like never before. The plan involved a small but highly skilled team of soldiers and scientists, led by Rachel. They would infiltrate the Zarvan's homeworld and sabotage their military infrastructure. But that wasn't the end of it. The humans would also spread a virus, a digital weapon, into the Zarvan's communication systems. It would cripple their command, disrupt their coordination, and create confusion among their ranks. Without their leadership, the Zarvan would be disorganized and easy to defeat. The mission was a dangerous gamble. If the humans failed, Earth would have no chance. If they succeeded, it could change the entire course of the war. As Rachel's team prepared for their journey, they faced one of the hardest decisions of all: how to get past the Zarvan's defenses. Their homeworld was heavily guarded, with invisible cloaking fields, automatic defense systems, and patrols of fierce alien warriors. If they were detected, they wouldn't survive. The plan was to use a stolen Zarvan ship, disguised as one of their own. It wasn't perfect, but it would be their only chance to get inside the enemy's defenses undetected. They practiced the mission over and over, studying the alien ship systems and learning how to avoid detection. The day of the mission finally arrived. The team boarded the ship and set off into the vastness of space, leaving Earth behind. As they traveled deeper into alien territory, the weight of their mission began to settle on them. They were entering the heart of the enemy's domain, a place where even the best Earth soldiers had never been. Once they arrived at the Zarvan homeworld, the true challenge began. The planet was a giant, dark mass, covered in strange glowing cities and towering structures. The team had to navigate through the planet's atmosphere, avoiding radar scans and searching for the weak points in the alien defenses. It felt like they were walking on the edge of a knife: one wrong move and everything would fall apart. Rachel's team moved silently, like shadows in the night. They landed the ship on a remote plateau, hidden from view by a range of mountains. From there, they would make their way into the heart of the Zarvan's military complex. But just as they were about to disembark, the unexpected happened. An alert sounded from the ship's control room: unknown ship detected. The Zarvan had noticed something was off. They had been spotted. The tension was immediate. The mission was no longer a secret. The Zarvan had launched a search party, and they were closing in fast. Rachel's heart raced as she made a quick decision. "We need to move, now. Prepare for a fight, and get to the mission site." We can't let them catch us. The team rushed into the dense jungle surrounding the plateau, trying to keep their movements as quiet as possible. Their hearts pounded in their chests. Each step felt like a countdown to disaster. If they were caught, not only would their mission fail, but Earth's last hope would be gone. They knew they had to act fast. The virus was their best weapon, but only if they could get it into the Zarvan's central network without being detected. But now, with the search party closing in, the humans had no choice but to fight back. They would have to make it to the heart of the enemy's operations and deploy the virus, before it was too late. The air was thick with tension. The Zarvan had no idea what was coming, but Rachel and her team were about to show them that humanity had more than just strength. They had ingenuity, bravery, and the will to survive. But would it be enough? Rachel and her team moved through the dense, alien jungle, their hearts racing. Every rustle of leaves felt like it could be the Zarvan closing in. The virus they carried, a digital weapon capable of crippling the Zarvan's communication systems, was their only hope. But it was fragile, and it had to be deployed at the heart of the enemy's military command center. Failure was not an option. Time was running out. The Zarvan search party was getting closer. They could hear the hum of alien technology in the distance, the sound of the enemy's patrol ships moving overhead. Each second felt like an eternity. The team reached the base of the Zarvan's towering fortress, a massive structure built into the side of a mountain. It was surrounded by high-tech security systems, automatic defense drones, and armed soldiers. Rachel knew they wouldn't be able to get inside unnoticed for much longer. They had no choice but to take a stand. "Ready yourselves," Rachel whispered, her voice steady, though her mind raced. "We'll fight our way in. Get to the core of their system. Deploy the virus. And get out. Quick." The soldiers nodded, gripping their weapons tightly. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could truly prepare them for the horrors of the enemy's homeworld. The stakes were higher than ever. They had to disrupt the Zarvan's command structure before the entire planet fell into their hands. With a deep breath, Rachel signaled to her team. They moved swiftly, firing at the nearest patrol drones. The alien machines exploded in bright flashes, sending the nearby jungle into chaos. In the distance, Rachel could hear the loud screech of the Zarvan soldiers, alerted to their presence. "Keep moving," she shouted, leading the way toward the entrance of the fortress. The team sprinted across the open ground, firing at anything that moved. Alien soldiers appeared, their glowing eyes burning with rage, but Earth's team fought back with everything they had. Their weapons, though crude compared to the Zarvan's, had been adapted to take down the aliens. And the human spirit, an unbreakable will to survive, was their greatest weapon of all. The battle raged on, but they couldn't afford to be distracted. The fortress loomed ahead, its dark walls seeming to swallow the light. Rachel's team was making their way toward the central tower, where the virus would be deployed. But there was one final obstacle: Zalvar, the Zarvan leader, had arrived. He stood tall, his eyes glowing with an eerie green light. His massive form was covered in armor that reflected the jungle's strange glow. His voice echoed through the battlefield, filled with venom and anger. "You dare defy me, humans? Your resistance is pathetic. Your planet is doomed." Rachel met his gaze, not showing any fear. "You may have attacked Earth, but you underestimated us. This is our world. And we will fight for it." Without warning, Zalvar raised his hand, summoning a pulse of energy that sent shockwaves through the ground. The humans scrambled to shield themselves, but the force was too powerful. Several of them were thrown back, tumbling across the ground. Zalvar's soldiers charged forward, their weapons aimed at Earth's team. Rachel stood up, barely shaken by the blast. "We have to keep moving," she shouted. She sprinted toward the base of the fortress, ignoring the burning pain in her legs. The virus was so close to deployment, only a few more steps and humanity might just have a chance to stop the Zarvan for good. But Zalvar wasn't going to let them escape that easily. He raised his weapon again, his eyes filled with murderous intent. You think you can win? You are nothing against us. Rachel's team kept fighting, firing with all their might, but the Zarvan leader was too powerful. The humans were being pushed back, cornered. The base entrance was within sight, but it seemed like they might never reach it. That's when a loud crash echoed through the battlefield. A new force arrived, Earth's reinforcements, led by General Sykes and the rest of the remaining human forces. They had come just in time. The tide of the battle shifted. Cover them. General Sykes ordered, leading his soldiers into the fray. With renewed strength, Rachel and her team charged forward, breaking through the last line of Zarvan defenses. They reached the entrance to the fortress, and Rachel quickly ordered the virus to be deployed. The digital weapon hummed to life, sending a surge of energy through the alien systems. The glowing screens inside the fortress flickered, and for a moment, everything went dark. Zalvar let out a roar of rage. The aliens scrambled to fix the disruption, but it was too late. The virus had already done its work. The communication systems were down, the command structure in chaos. The Zarvan had lost their grip on their forces. With the virus deployed, Rachel and her team turned to flee. The battle was far from over, but the first victory had been won. As they raced through the jungle, the sounds of Zarvan soldiers echoing behind them, Rachel knew that Earth's resistance had just begun. This was humanity's last stand, and they weren't going to back down. The war for Earth had reached its breaking point. The virus had crippled the Zarvan's communication network, causing chaos within their military. The humans had secured a temporary victory, but Rachel and her team knew that the battle was far from over. They were not only fighting for Earth, they were fighting for the future of their species. The Zarvan would come again, stronger and angrier than ever. The teams of soldiers and civilians who had fought so hard were regrouping, preparing for the final push. The alien forces were retreating into the deep parts of their stronghold, but it was clear that they weren't giving up. They were planning their next move, and this time, they would not underestimate the humans. We've given them a taste of what we can do, General Sykes said as he gathered the remaining human forces. But now we need to show them that we can finish this. No more running. No more hiding. It's time to strike back, and this time, we're going for the heart of their power. Rachel knew that this was their last chance. She couldn't shake the thought that if they didn't take control now, Earth's resistance would be wiped out completely. The Zarvan leader, Zalvar, was still out there, somewhere, planning his next attack. They had to eliminate the threat once and for all. The humans had one advantage, their knowledge of the Zarvan's weaknesses. While the aliens had superior technology, humanity had learned from their first encounters. They knew how to hack into the enemy's systems, how to disable their shields, and how to destroy their weapons. With the power of their combined intelligence, humanity was ready for the final assault. Rachel and her team set out once more, determined to finish what they had started. They made their way deep into the Zarvan's fortress, now operating without their leadership. The planet's surface trembled beneath their feet as they approached the core of the alien stronghold, their last line of defense. This was the place where Zalvar had prepared his ultimate weapon, a massive fleet of ships ready to annihilate the remaining human forces. We can't let them launch their fleet, Rachel said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. If they take to the skies, Earth is finished. We go in now, and we finish them. As they breached the last level of the fortress, they encountered an army of Zarvan soldiers. These warriors were fierce, their glowing eyes burning with hatred for the humans. The air was thick with tension. The humans fired back, using every ounce of their training and strategy to fight through the alien forces. There were no more surprises, only the raw will to survive. Rachel led the charge, her mind focused solely on one thing, getting to the heart of the enemy's power. They fought relentlessly, pushing back the alien soldiers. But even as they battled, Zalvar's voice echoed in their minds. You cannot stop me, humans, he said, his voice booming through the fortress walls. You have no idea what you're facing. My fleet will be the end of you. Rachel gritted her teeth. We've faced worse. And we're still here. They reached the central control room, the last place where the Zarvan's plans were being carried out. The room was filled with computers, glowing screens, and a massive console where Zalvar was making the final preparations for his fleet to launch. Zalvar himself stood at the center, towering over the humans with a menacing smile. His armor gleamed, and his eyes burned with fury. You think you've won? You're nothing compared to what's coming. My fleet is unstoppable. Earth will fall. Rachel stepped forward, meeting Zalvar's glare. You underestimated humanity. We may be small, but we fight with everything we have. And that's why we'll win. She signaled to her team, and they quickly activated the final phase of their plan, disabling the fleet's launch systems. The humans had one final tool, the supercharged orb, which, when combined with their hacking technology, could disable the entire fleet and render it useless. Zalvar roared in anger. No. You cannot stop it. The fleet is already in motion. Your world is finished. But Rachel wasn't backing down. As she inserted the final piece of the orb's technology into the console, a bright pulse of light filled the room. The alien computers sparked and flickered, and for the first time, Zalvar's expression changed to one of shock. His fleet, his final weapon, was gone. The launch was a failure. No. You've destroyed everything. Zalvar shouted, his anger boiling over. The humans had won. The once mighty Zarvan leader crumbled in defeat. The warriors around him stood still, uncertain, no longer willing to fight without their leader's commands. Earth had shown them the truth, humanity was no longer weak, no longer easy to defeat. The war was over. As the fortress began to collapse, the humans made their escape, knowing they had done what no one thought was possible. They had not just defended their world, they had struck back with everything they had, showing the universe that Earth would not be a place of conquest anymore. It would be a place of strength, of resistance. The war against the Zarvan was over, but humanity's story had only just begun. They had shown the galaxy that when pushed to the edge, they would always rise. And now, they were coming for every world that dared to threaten their survival. The galaxy had just learned a valuable lesson: never underestimate humanity.